Breaking news, caught. Police making an arrest in that serial killer case terrorizing a Tampa neighborhood. This 24-year-old found with a gun at work at McDonald's, now in custody. How police finally tracked him down, the city's mayor here on GMA.
Also breaking, North Korea says their new missile could reach the entire U.S. mainland with a nuclear warhead. Pilots taking off from the West Coast said they could see flashes from the missile test in the sky. President Trump called it a grave threat to the entire world.
It is a situation that we will handle.
An emergency meeting at the UN this morning.
On the run, the desperate search for this missing 17-year-old disappearing with a high school soccer coach, erasing her cell phone, where the pair was last spotted together as her family pleads for her to come home.
Let somebody know that you're safe.
The FBI now joining the investigation.
And save the date. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle planning a May wedding at St. George's Chapel. The newly revealed photo showing a young Markle at Buckingham Palace. What the American princes will have to go through to get ready for the big day, just 6 months away.
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
We do say good morning, America, and there is a lot of breaking headlines this morning. People are concerned about that North Korea missile test and the idea that a missile could reach all the way to here in New York or Washington, D.C.
So concerned that Hawaii is actually going back to those siren warnings that they've used during the Cold War.
Defense Secretary said this was their highest test yet. The president said we can handle. We're going to have more on that coming up. But first, that big break in the Tampa serial killer case. Police have arrested this 24-year-old at a local McDonald's. You see him right there. He's now charged with 4 murders. ABC's Victor Akendo is in Tampa with more on how they caught him. Good morning, Victor.
Good morning, George. A co-worker at that McDonald's alerted a police officer who happened to be inside at the time, telling them that Donaldson had a gun on him. This is a huge relief for the people in that neighborhood who have been living in fear for nearly 2 months now under constant police patrols. But now a suspect is in jail.
I am pleased to announce that tonight we will be making an arrest in the Seminole Heights murders.
It's the news residents in that Tampa neighborhood have been waiting for. Police arresting a suspect in the case, 24-year-old Howell Donaldson III, facing 4 counts of first-degree murder. Our affiliate capturing the moment he was taken into custody outside a local McDonald's where he works.
Thank you for having the courage to step forward and doing the right thing.
Police receiving a tip about a man with a gun from one of his co-workers.
First of all, he told my boss to hold the gun. He told him to hold his book bag for him. But he said, don't go in the book bag, whatever you don't go in the book bag. And so she went in the book bag, and so she found the gun. And after finding the gun, she just called the police. Peebo Johnson says Donaldson has worked at the McDonald's for 2 to 3 months, and when police responded, they tackled him to the ground. It's kind of crazy, that he was here with us the whole time. The arrest comes 51 days after the first murder when Benjamin Mitchell was gunned down on October 9th. Since then, Monica Hoffa, Anthony Naiboa, and Ronald Felton were all killed as they walked alone at night or early morning. These surveillance videos of a suspect, the only clue.
Justice will be served, and then the process will occur when this individual rots in hell.
For nearly 2 months, the neighborhood has been on edge. Police saturating the area, now hoping they can breathe a sigh of relief.
I'm just so overjoyed that the men and women of Tampa Bay and all over Florida have taken care of this and handled this appropriately.
All along, police thought that the killer may have lived in the Seminole Heights neighborhood, but according to the police report, Donaldson says he has no affiliation with the area. There are still so many questions here and no word on a motive. George?
That is a mystery. Okay, Victor, thanks very much. Earlier this morning, I spoke to Tampa's Mayor Bob Buckhorn and Police Chief Brian Dugan. Mayor, thank you for joining us this morning. We heard you say in that piece, goodness has won. So the people in Seminole Heights are now safe?
Yeah, we think so, George. This was a good night last night, thanks to the work of the Tampa Police Department and all of our partners and Chief Dugan. The folks in Seminole Heights, we think, can rest comfortably that this individual is in custody, and now the process starts moving forward. But it's a good day in Tampa.
And Chief, you did get some extraordinary help from the public.
Yeah, it was just a phenomenal response from the public. You know, we received over 5,000 tips, but, you know, more importantly, we got the right one yesterday. Somebody had the intestinal fortitude to step up and give us the bit of information that we needed. and bring this to a halt. You know, it's been 51 days since the first murder, and you know, it's day one of the healing process to kind of help these families in this community put their lives back together.
The bullet casings match. The cell phone seems to put the suspect in the area. Any sense of why he did this, Chief?
No, you know, we're still struggling with that. We have a lot of unanswered questions. You know, now the work really starts trying to put everything together. We're going to have to do more interviews. We're going to be looking for more information from the public of what they know about him and where he's been the last, you know, 51 days. And we have so many still unanswered questions. But I think the big thing is we now have a neighborhood that can enjoy their holidays.
Mayor, it did put the entire neighborhood in a state of siege.
That neighborhood stood with us. They stood with the police department. They knew that we collectively were going to solve this together, and they deserve a lot of the credit for taking care of our officers who were out there for 51 days, but really having the backbone to stand up in the face of evil and saying, not on my watch.
Chief, have you had the chance to speak with Howell Tomlinson?
Yes, I spoke to him a little bit last night after the interviews, and he was pretty non-responsive. You know, wasn't angry. It was a very subdued, strange behavior, in my opinion. But you know, whoever does something like this, they're you know, Lord knows what's driving them.
Is he admitting he did it?
He has not admitted to that. He has admitted that he owns the gun.
Chief Dugan, Mayor Buckhorn, thank you very much for your time this morning. Congratulations.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Definitely a big sigh of relief there. Now to that new threat from North Korea, testing a powerful missile they say is capable of carrying a nuclear warhead and could reach the entire U.S. mainland. The UN Security Council calling an emergency meeting, and President Trump promising, quote, "We will take care of it." Our chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz, has the latest. She's there in Washington. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, Robin. North Korea had not launched a missile in well over 2 months, the longest pause since Donald Trump became president. But Kim Jong-un has now come back with a roar.
Overnight, North Korean TV gleefully announcing the test of a new type of missile, which Kim Jong-un says completes its nuclear force. The intercontinental ballistic missile stayed airborne nearly an hour, hurling into space 2,800 miles, higher and longer than any missile ever tested by the North Koreans, before crashing down in the Sea of Japan. This test launch was aimed vertically, but if the North Koreans tilt the angle horizontally, the ICBM could potentially reach all the way across the continental U.S. President Trump briefed while the missile was still in the air.
I will only tell you that we will take care of it. It is a situation that we will handle.
Until that happens, preparations are being made in Hawaii. An attack warning system not used since the Cold War will now be tested once a month.
An unsettling sound, to say the least. This provocative launch comes after stronger sanctions, shows of military force, and the designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. And while President Trump says he will take care of it, it is unclear how he will do that in the face of growing defiance, Robin, from Kim Jong-un.
That's right. And it is also something that we heard that there were passengers on commercial flights who said, Martha, that they actually saw flashes of light.
Exactly. There are reports that during that missile launch, several commercial airliners saw a flash. Of course, North Korea gives no warning of its tests, so commercial airliners would not know until they saw it.
And that's true. Okay, Martha, thank you.
Robin, we have more breaking news now this morning. We have just learned that NBC's Matt Lauer has been fired. You see him right there. It's because of reports of, quote, inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace, according to a statement from NBC Chairman Andrew Lack. It was announced this morning just moments ago on the Today Show. An emotional Savannah Guthrie saying this news just came in. And I want to read a little bit more from the statement now from NBC Chairman Andrew Lack. He said that on Monday night, we received a detailed complaint from a colleague about inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace by Matt Lauer. It represented a clear violation of our company's standards, and they had terminated his employment. They say it's the first complaint about his behavior in over 20 years he's been at NBC News, but says they were also presented with reason to believe that it may not have been an isolated incident. So we're just learning this right now. We'll have much more.
And when Savannah and Hoda, they were there, and Savannah she applauded her colleague, very brave of a colleague. I mean, Matt Lauer is an institution there, and for this brave colleague to come forward with these allegations was
apparently
something that
just this week.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yep. We're going to move on now to President Trump. He's focused on Capitol Hill, pushing hard to pass his tax bill, prevent a government shutdown. The deadline for a deal is just 9 days away, and there you see him posing with empty chairs after Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi refused to attend a White House meeting following a critical Trump tweet. The GOP will need Democratic votes to keep the government open. The president's tax plan got a big boost yesterday, passing a key Senate committee. Trump will campaign for it in Missouri today, ahead of more votes later this week. I want to bring in our senior White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega, for more on this right now. The president seemed pretty optimistic that the tax plan is going to pass with more changes. But let's take a look at Senate Leader Mitch McConnell. He says it's going to be more complicated.
Think of sitting there with a Rubik's Cube, trying to get to 50. And we do have a few members who have concerns, and we're trying to address them. And we know we would not be able to go forward until we get 50 people satisfied, and that's what we're working on.
Well, I don't know if you've ever tried to do a Rubik's Cube, George. I've never pulled one off. Not easy to do. That is not a clear vote of confidence from the majority leader there. They've got a long way to go. This vote yesterday was a big boost for Republicans. There are still at least 6 senators who are on the record having voiced concerns. You know this. The Republicans can only afford to lose 2 votes here. They've got a lot of wild cards here. White House says they still think they can get this done by Christmas, but in a sign of perhaps how much work they know they still need to do. The president hits the road today. He's going to Missouri. He's really trying to still sell this. They have a long way to go.
A long way to go, but they do have momentum on that, not so much on avoiding a government shutdown. The gulf now with Democrats wider than ever.
Well, I mean, the clock is ticking. December 8th, the government runs out of money, and then you've got this stunt yesterday with the president sitting there between 2 empty chairs. Chuck and Nancy, as he likes to call them, Pelosi and Schumer, didn't show up to the White House because they were furious that he taunted them with this tweet. The Republicans need the Democrats. They need their votes in order to pull off, to avoid this shutdown. They don't have the votes there. The president was asked yesterday if he believed they could avoid a government shutdown. Would he blame the Democrats if in fact there was one? He said, absolutely, I would blame the Democrats. And aide tells us, though, that they're working to really avoid this.
In the meantime, we're getting more and more reports out of the White House now that the president is now questioning whether it's his voice on that Access Hollywood tape, also bringing up again this whole issue of whether or not President Obama was born in the United States.
Well, there's absolutely no proof that this is not the president's voice on this Access Hollywood. He apologized. He apologized for it. Yes, outright apologized for it. And now the New York Times is reporting that behind closed doors, the president is really back to talking about conspiracy theories. I mean, he was the lead person out front on the birther movement, claiming that President Obama was not born in the United States. He eventually came around to it after many questions. Years of questioning by reporters. He said that the president was born in the States, but apparently he's talking about this behind closed doors now.
Confounding even those who work for him, sort of creating his own reality. Cecilia Vega, thanks very much. Michael?
All right, thank you, George. And also this morning, a possible clue in the search for that missing toddler in North Carolina. The FBI is releasing these new surveillance images saying they could be 3-year-old Mariah Woods, who disappeared Sunday night. ABC's Steve Osunsami has the latest.
Take a look. These are the security camera images this morning that the FBI and local authorities are sharing, concerned that the girl in the photo might, just might, be 3-year-old Mariah Woods. Police are asking for help from anyone who can identify the woman carrying this child. They were spotted at a Walmart in Morehead City, North Carolina at 9:30 a.m. Monday morning, 3 hours after the girl disappeared.
Priority number 1 is to find Mariah.
Our focus right now is to find her, to bring her back, and then to find out what happened.
With helicopters in the air and volunteers on foot, investigators are looking for any trace of the young girl last seen Sunday night. The FBI is sharing this missing poster, asking anyone who's been in contact with the family since Sunday to come forward.
I believe the police want to make sure that their story fits as they're putting this puzzle together and connecting the dots.
The girl's mother says she said goodnight to her daughter around 11 p.m. Sunday in their mobile home.
Whatever you want. Just bring her home, please, safe and sound. She's my baby. She's my everything.
An hour later, her mother's boyfriend says the girl woke up and he told the 3-year-old to go back to bed. The girl's grandmother discovered she was missing the next morning.
If somebody abducted this 3-year-old, maybe they knew how to get in, maybe they had a key to the trailer. That's the unanswered questions that need to be answered.
The girl's biological father, who doesn't live in the home, says he doesn't believe his daughter was abducted.
Somebody just walked right up in there grabbed a 3-year-old out of bed. She didn't cry, she didn't scream, nobody heard nothing. 4 people in the house, 2 adults and 2 kids, and somebody just comes up and snatches the baby up and walks out.
Police point out that this missing girl needs orthopedic shoes to walk normally, and those shoes were left in the home directly behind me. That Walmart is about an hour away from here, and authorities underline that that missing girl might, just might, be her. Robin.
All right, Steve, thank you. New details also now on the royal engagement. We're learning when and where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will say I do. ABC's Adrian Bankert is at Windsor Castle, the site of the next royal wedding. Good morning, Adrian.
Good morning to you too, Robin. Yes, Londoners we've talked to are thrilled at the news of this royal wedding to be held here at the Queen's country residence at St. George's Chapel. Meanwhile, we're learning a little bit more about the bride-to-be. A never-before-seen image this morning of a teenage Meghan Markle standing in front of Buckingham Palace. The childhood friend pictured with Markle tells the Daily Mail, who obtained the photo, that it was taken in 1996, the year before Princess Diana died. This comes on the heels of the couple's first interview, where they told the BBC they've enjoyed learning about each other's past.
Because I'm from the States, you don't grow up with the same understanding of the royal family, and so while I now understand very clearly, there's a global interest there.
Overnight, new details about the couple's future. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle selecting St. George's Chapel for their upcoming ceremony set to take place in May. The royal family will be covering most of the cost. GMA got an inside look at the 600-year-old chapel in 2005, situated at the Queen's home at Windsor Castle. The venue more intimate than Westminster Abbey, where William and Kate wed, with room for only 1/3 of their guest list. St. George's, the location of many royal weddings, including Prince Harry's uncle, Prince Edward.
For the couple, they've spent a lot of time in Windsor. It's a very special place to them now. I think there's a very strong link to the Queen. It's a very happy place for the royal family.
Before the newlyweds walk down the aisle, Markle, who attended Catholic school in Los Angeles and danced the hora at her first wedding in Jamaica, will be baptized by the Church of England. Markle is also set to become a UK citizen, a process which could take several years. She will retain her US citizenship until the transition, but reportedly plans to go through the same process of applying for citizenship through a spouse, just like anyone else. And you know, so many of us in America are excited at the idea of an American princess. Those we've talked to here in the UK say the fact that she's from the US hasn't even come up. They're just excited for Harry. Back to you guys.
And we're excited for them both. All right, Adrian, thank you. We'll get back to you in a little bit.
But now let's go back to Ginger. More snow in the west?
That's right. That's the only place you find it in the country, really. Detroit yesterday was in the mid-60s. But this is what we find in Stevens Pass, Washington. 8 to 12 inches of snow fell, and there's more where that came from. We'll see with this next storm up to 2 feet in parts of the Cascades. Your local weather in 30 seconds. First, though, the Sunny Cities, brought to you by CarMax.
Turns out things aren't always what you think they are. Take guinea pigs. They're not pigs at all, nor are they from Guinea. Or take this haircut. I may look all business, but look out! There's a party going on back here. Kind of misleading, isn't it? Well, at CarMax, you don't have to worry about being misled. The price online is the same price in the store, which is the same for everyone, even guinea pigs. It's only fair, Mr. Biscuits. Only fair.
Today will be amazingly warm. Probably the last time we're into the mid-60s this year. We'll have sunshine today. You got to get out. 64 above average by nearly 10 degrees. Meanwhile, for the weekend, our temperatures come way down into the 50s. Toys for Tots Saturday, National Harbor, 51. Could be a little breezy. And then 55 on Sunday, still with sunshine, but a much colder pattern starts setting up next week. Toward the end of the week, 45 degrees, the high for Thursday, 44 on Friday.
Coming up here on GMA, including more on that breaking news, Matt Lauer has been fired from the Today Show over at NBC. Allegations of inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace, according to NBC's chairman. And he also said there was reason to believe it was not an isolated incident. President Trump is weighing in as well. We'll have all the latest.
My favorite holiday meal is roasted lamb,
the matzo ball soup,
dumplings.
My mom makes this really horrible green bean casserole.
Tortita